Well, if you wanted to learn how to remove a sink faucet, a kitchen sink faucet, you're in luck, because that's what this video is about. So stick around. Okay, I got everything disconnected from underneath. You might wonder, what the heck is this, Joe? Well, this needs to be put on there. It's just a weight, so that if you have one that pulls in and out, you put this on your hose down there in a place where it's not going to hit any other pipes and stuff, and reroute all your stuff properly. This just helps pull that hose back down into there. And sometimes these have a screw on there, and you can screw them together. Well, this one happens to have this little clip right there. See, there's one there and one on the other side. And you unclip it, and then it pulls apart, and then you snap it back, and that kind of thing. And lucky for me, it was just this here was holding it snapped up there. That was the nut I had to get. And I used my trusty little vice grips, my small vice grips right there. And I was able to undo it. This was just hand tight. And this thing snapped in. I'll show you when I pull this out. And we'll talk about this a little bit, because it wasn't actually leaking from here. Sometimes faucets might leak, and it might be when you pull this out, this nut right here might just need to be tightened, because a lot of times I've seen this leak and people don't know it because it's like that. They turn the water on and it's dripping. I've had that happen a couple different times when I used to live in Maui. I pull this out, tighten that up, okay, you're good to go. And that's all it was. But this happened to be leaking around the edge, and this didn't look tight. And I'll pull this up here in a minute. We'll kind of look at that, because if it was dripping somewhere else where the lines got connected, or something else on this thing, or leaking underneath, the cartridge here was dripping out and all that kind of thing, you could fix it yourself. Put some putty dope underneath here, put the new one on, tighten it back up, and away you go. But see, because this one only had one nut, this base is kind of plasticky and tinny. There's nothing holding this one down to that hole, nothing holding that one down to that hole. In the old days, they used to have other prongs that fit down there, and then you have a big washer with a wing nut or another nut, and once you get this lined up, you tighten that down from underneath, and that held this tight. But as it was, this one little thing was holding the whole thing. Okay, I'll pull that up here in a second, but I wanted to show you how I get in and out of this. If you didn't believe that, I'm going to do that next, just to show you, hey, I'm not a spring chicken anymore, but you can still do it. Okay, and if you're bigger than me or something like that, you may have to disconnect, depending what it is, you may have to disconnect your adjustable P-trap to get that out, to have just a little bit more arm room or something like that. Okay, I'm gonna show you that here next. Well, did I eat my Wheaties this morning or what? All right, I'll just show you how I do it. Gotta get under here. Contort myself here, like that. That's it. Oh, and lucky for me, I could reach everything, and there were no rusty parts under there or anything like that. Make sure I've got a knee brace on, my back support brace on, my long sleeve shirt on, a couple mats to lean on, my glasses on, and that's just how you do it. Okay, I guess you can see that. You're just going to kind of be looking over my shoulder here. I'm gonna pull this up, and see, there was nothing connecting those two, and now I can pull that through there. Look at that. Now let's see here. Pull these up one at a time. There. Look at that. That's how you're gonna pull that out. Now, faucets in the old days, of course, they don't have all this. Of course, there's other things that are underneath there. Of course, I can't show you that because this is a newer model, 20-year-old faucet as opposed to a 30, 40-year-old faucet. There's other things going on with that, and I've got stuff like that on my YouTube channel. Go to my main YouTube channel page, click on playlists, and scroll down to plumbing. That's all you gotta do. And you'll see me disconnect a couple old faucets and show you different things about that, okay? And you see this has a rubber gasket under it. And just over time, I'm looking at this. This looks pretty straight, but I can see it's lifted just ever so slightly. And if I wanted to, I could clean this all up. I could wipe this all down. Okay, and I could probably put this back together with plumber's putty and let it stick up, and then smush it down there, tighten this up, rearrange that. Worst case scenario, I mean, you could put caulking, white silicone caulking all the way around this, and it'll still work. And you know what, my cousin, they'll be back here pretty soon, and if not, I could always text her and ask her and just tell her, hey, this faucet wasn't actually leaking from the cartridge, from the handle, from the connections. It was leaking. It's just when you turn the water on and you get water on the counter and stuff, it was leaking around this. Now, actually, I don't 100% know. I should have ran it longer when I had it. Because maybe the cartridge under here was in fact leaking and maybe just dribbling on here and then coming out. She did say she saw some water on the floor underneath the sink, and that's because the water accumulated around this outside edge, not necessarily the middle hole where all this stuff comes through, but maybe as she's washing, rinsing off the sink, water could have came in from underneath. This gasket it's flattened down, and you could get a new gasket for that. You'd have to special order it, have it stick down further so that would help hold it down and push it down as you're tightening this middle, and maybe it wouldn't leak again. But I should have maybe ran it a little bit more, wiped this up, ran it for 3 or 4 minutes to see if any water was coming out, accumulating from underneath it, thereby telling me that the cartridge in here could have been leaking from the base or something. Just drip, 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 or one drip every 15 seconds. Water accumulating here and then coming across this way and down. The chances are they're going to tell me, hey, let's just go ahead and replace it. But I'm telling you all these things in case you don't have the money to replace your sink faucet. Your sink faucet still looks to be in good shape even though it's 15, 20 years old. And everything still seems to be working on it properly. And it looks nice and sturdy. You could try that. Clean this all up, dry that out, dry this out. Even if you can't get a new gasket, you could get some gasket material and take this to the store, get a longer piece, cut it to fit. And like I say, you could put silicone, white silicone underneath here. See, this has grooves in it. The silicone's going to go under here. You'd have to put enough to have this spooge up and then spooge out so that you could then wipe it and then put a nice little bead all the way around it. You could do something like that. Chances are it's never going to leak. But if it's dripping from inside, instead of leaking on the outside, it's going to leak through your hole. You see what I mean? And it's going to drip down on top of your cabinet shelf down there at the bottom. My thought is they're going to tell me, no, just go ahead and replace the other one. I'm sure that's what they're going to do, but I'm giving you options for you to check things out on your own. Okay, so before anything, I'm I'm going to wipe this all off. I've got some old scouring pads, and I'll clean all that up good. I've got a bucket, and I'll use some water and stuff. Get this all nice and clean, nice and dry. And then when I undid the hot and cold water lines under here, I got a little bit of drips of water there. I'm going to wipe that all up. I'll kind of clean this up a little bit before I dive in to the new one. Okay, stick around, more to learn. All right, that looks pretty good, but when that's not clean enough, I'm gonna just take my simple green, spray on there, and do a little bit more. And if I don't get it all up, I could use a little razor blade carefully so I don't scratch things up. Okay? Maybe possibly some steel wool. I don't know about steel wool. I'm gonna spray that on there. I'm gonna let that sit just a little bit and see if I can't. See if I can't get that cleaner. I'll get my little razor blade out. All I do is I take my sheetrock knife and take a blade out, and then just easy do this kind of business to it. Okay, I want to get that nice and clean, nice and dry. If the other base is slightly different, I don't want to see any of the edge, surrounding edge. Oh yeah, there's a little mark, there's a little mark, there's a little mark. Didn't VideoJoe do a good job? Oh yeah, I'm never going to have him do any work for me. Do it right. Okay, I got it pretty clean. And I used some Bonami too. Bonami and a scouring pad. I just use a crummy old one. Don't use the one at your sink, okay? Or throw it away afterwards and get a new one and save one for underneath the sink. And I wiped all that down, cleaned it all up, and then got some fresh water, cleaned it, rinsed it out again, wiped underneath there. I'm just showing you the different things that I would do. I'd do the same thing if this was my sink, my kitchen, my faucet, okay? And I'm just showing you step by step, all right? Oh, here's one thing I forgot to mention. See, I took this, I used this as my razor blade, and it actually looked, it marked up the porcelain sink. I don't know how that could happen, but if you're going to use something like that or a small little razor blade, check it in an inconspicuous spot first. Don't start scraping on the outside edge and then finding out, oh my gosh, now I've got some marks on here. How am I going to cover those marks up? I could probably get that out with a pumice stone, but I'm not going to worry about it because it's on the inside. The ring fits way out here, okay? So just be mindful of that. Well, that's how to remove a kitchen faucet. That's all I got for this time, but I'll be back with more videos. And here's the thing I want you to know. If, let's say, I hope that I showed you enough information there to get you to where you feel comfortable in removing your kitchen faucet. Now, like I said, not all kitchen faucets are going to remove that easy. Okay, but if you got the know-how and the wherewithal to think that you can do this, okay, maybe you don't feel comfortable installing the faucet. Maybe you just feel like, hey, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to get the faucet that I want. Then I'm going to call a plumber, have the plumber come out. All he's got to do is replace or install the faucet that I want right here or something like that. Maybe you can save some money that way. Okay? Just different things to think about. But I think if you've gone this far, trust me, sometimes it's easier to install the faucet than it is to remove the old one, depending how much time and effort and all that kind of stuff, because the more things you touch underneath a sink that's maybe 40 years old, everything you seem to touch seems to break. It seems to need to be fixed and all that. And then you've opened up another can of worms. Okay? And these things, like I say, they go in pretty easy, and most of them nowadays Oh, look, scan or code for instructions. You scan that. I don't know if there's, I think they also give an instruction sheet underneath. Well, we'll just have to see. And sometimes they'll come with a video of their own or whatever. But I think if you can take one out, you can install a new one. So check that out and stick around to see me install this new faucet on this kitchen sink. Okay, see you next time.